Hi everyone, welcome. It's Friday. It's the Friday focused week 3 of our webinar assemblies. And a lot of you have been in touch this week just talking about how bleh you feel without structure. And that actually a lot of you are really surprising yourself because you're missing school. And that's understandable. You know, we miss you as well. There's all those friends, there's all those teachers, there's all that learning, there's all that structure, there's that opportunity to move your life on and everything. We obviously are missing you guys too. That's why we're doing these assemblies, and we're doing everything we can to make sure that we're looking after the children of key workers. So how are you doing? How are you feeling? You might find yourself feeling a little bit emotional and a little bit low. So we're going to look at how to manage emotions today, and how to respond differently to our emotions, because unfortunately we've got more negative emotions available than positive emotions, because those negative emotions kept our ancestors alive. So we're going to explore how to respond to our emotions, particularly our negative emotions, in a more positive way. And it's really simple, but actually quite difficult to do. So the kind of idea is simple. Whenever we're experiencing emotion, it's really important that we notice that we're having an emotional experience, because our mood can change, our emotions can change without us really noticing. What are emotions is a good question. Emotions are really quick responses by the brain trying to sum up what we feel about a certain situation. So what's going on now is an instant response, an emotional response. Either we feel positive about something and we might want to move towards it and experience a positive emotion, like happiness, or we might have an avoid emotion like fear or disgust, dislike, hatred, whatever. And what emotions are they're called heuristics. Basically, they're very simple programs in the brain that quickly come up with a resolution, an answer about what we think about and feel about a particular situation in front of us. That could be a person, that could be a lesson, that could be the current situation with the coronavirus. And the thing about emotions is they respond really quickly, but they sacrifice accuracy for quickness. So they give us a quick summation of how we might feel generally about something, but it may not be true. And it might also, for example, they might generate internal thoughts and feelings that might not be true as well. So for example, if we make a mistake, we might feel that we can't do something, that we're rubbish or stupid, or everyone else can do it. And that's an internal thought generated as a response to that feeling. And that may not be true. It's not true. So it's really important that we're careful and notice our emotional responses, because they are helpful, and it's really important that we notice that they're happening, but they give us a general flavor of what we feel about something, avoid or approach, but they're not particularly accurate. So what we need to do, particularly with negative emotions, is we need to notice emotions that we're having. We need to accept those emotions, and we need to, crucially, if they keep cropping up and they're particularly strong, we need to share them. So there's really good habits we can get into around managing our emotions, which we'll come on to in a second. And there are thousands of emotions available, and the more words we have to describe our emotional experiences, the better able we are as a brain to move on from those experiences. Why is that? Because we now know that the area of the brain that registers physical pain also registers emotional pain, and any kind of emotions that we haven't processed or been aware of or explained to ourselves or shared with somebody else can end up clogged up in that area of the brain, that little yellow bit there, between the thinky bit at the front, the prefrontal cortex, and the emotional bit at the back, the limbic system. So you can see how we can literally get clogged up with emotion. So if people have been mean to you, nasty and bullied you, that is going to cause emotional pain in the brain. And those emotions are going to get clogged up there unless we can talk gently to ourselves about those experiences and slowly but surely describe them and kind of pull them out as a result. And if it's really challenging emotions because something really upsetting is happening, like the coronavirus is generating lots of worry, lots of concern for unwell relatives, and lots of worry about what happened next, what might happen next, and lots of frustration that we can't do all the things that we ordinarily do. that can all get clogged up in there as well. So it's really important that we notice our moods and emotions and speak about them to people that we trust. Because that bit of the brain holds emotional pain, it can affect our thinking as well. It can mean that we're not as effective at our thinking. If we're trying to do anything difficult, trying to concentrate and focus, we can find that emotional pain, distress, worry can impact on our ability to think to the level that maybe toothache might impact on our ability to do an exam. In fact, some very mean neuroscientists did an experiment where they gave people the equivalent of toothache. They gave them mild electric shocks that caused them quite a lot of pain. And then they asked them to do a maths test and compared the results of that maths test with the maths test they'd done previously before they'd had the shocks. What they saw was a 40% reduction in their ability to do maths on a similar test of a similar kind of difficulty. And they're carrying some pain, physical pain in that case, but emotional pain has the same impact as physical pain. It reduces cognitive capacity by about 30 to 40%. So trying to do a maths test after you've fallen out with your mate at break time is going to be tricky. It's going to be harder. It's going to be like trying to do a maths test with toothache. And then we've got this idea: sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. When I was a kid, that was a phrase. I don't know if it's still used. Maybe there's some new phrases, but it's not true. Emotional pain sits in that area of the brain, just like physical pain. So we have to respond. And if we had a wound on our skin, we would clean that wound. We would make sure that it's okay and it is healing okay. Because emotional pain causes a wound inside our heads, in that bit of our brain, it's really important that we practice emotional hygiene. And one of the neuroscientists who's explored this is a chap called Matthew Lieberman. I'm just going to let you listen to him talk about this link between emotional and social pain and physical pain.
So about a decade ago, Naomi Eisenberger and I set out to test whether social pain is more than just a metaphor. And we asked people to lay in an MRI scanner, so we were taking pictures of their brain, while they played what they thought was a simple ball tossing game with two other people that they thought were also in scanners. And if you were in the game, you'd control this little hand at the bottom of the screen, and whenever the ball came to you, you would simply press a button to decide who the ball was going to go to next. Really boring stuff. Not a very exciting game, but then something interesting happens. The other two players who were actually controlling stop throwing you the ball forever. You never get the ball again for the rest of the game. And what we found was sort of two things that we thought were pretty fascinating when we looked at the brains of these individuals. So when we looked at what was going on when these folks were being rejected, we saw that the same brain regions that register the distress of physical pain, how much you're sort of bothered by some physical pain experience, were also more active when people were left out of the game compared to when they had been included. Moreover, the more an individual told us they felt bad about being left out of the game, so the more social distress they experienced, the more these responses were sort of amplified in those particular individuals. And if that doesn't persuade you that social pain is real pain, and I know it won't for all of you, consider this. What we in the US call Tylenol, what you call paracetamol here, makes these effects go away. So you can give people paracetamol, and it will actually make these social pain effects go away in terms of people's experience and also in terms of the neural responses that we see. So the same painkiller that you take for your headache can help with your heartache as well.
That's quite amazing, isn't it? And very new science as well. So this idea that the physical and emotional pain are registered in the same place and actually affected by painkillers, paracetamol, in the same way. But the best way to deal with emotional pain is not to use paracetamol. It is to do this, which is a process called emotional hygiene, and becoming aware of our emotions. So it basically just means at the end of every day, just take 5 minutes to ask yourself the question: what happened today? And how did I feel about what happened? And what emotions were involved? And think about really strong emotions, so really strong positive emotions and really strong negative emotions. And crucially, try and work out what emotions were involved. And sometimes that's not obvious. Sometimes they're a bit confused, their emotions. So build that skill in. Just 2 or 3 minutes a day is a conversation between the top of your brain and your bottom of your brain. and it's starting to hook those emotions out. It means they're less likely to be hanging about in a way that isn't helpful. And that is a skill. It's a skill just like your times table, or learning your stuff for your GCSE science, or learning all the quotes that you need for your poetry exam. It's called emotional granularity, which is the ability to describe our experiences to ourselves. The better we are at explaining our experiences, particularly our emotional experiences, and saying, I'm really angry because, or I'm really anxious about this, it really helps a brain when it's able to explain that to itself. So the last slide before we go to a video is name it to tame it. Any experience that is mentionable by the brain, explainable by the brain, is manageable by the brain. And that's kind of a really important message that we all need to hang on to. So I should, at the beginning, have apologized for the state of my hair. I'm very sorry about that, but you know what it's like. None of us can get near a barber at the moment. And we're just going to show you a last video to finish off. Let's try again.
Are you scared yet? They say this thing, it kills your immune system, attacks your lungs, makes it hard to breathe, and it's spreading. Spreading like wildfire, causing havoc. Your friends and family are gonna get it, if they don't already have it. It's tragic, I tell you, madness. Scientists say old people get it worse, but most get it eventually. They say this is new, but no. This has been around for centuries. Look at history, it's just a different name, a different strain. And now there's no way to contain it. It affects the rich, poor, young, old, the unknown, the famous. It's dangerous. Everyone's on edge, locked inside of their homes nervously. Borders are closed, countries declare a state of emergencies. Grocery stores are empty, nobody's praying in church. The world has gone to crap. No wonder toilet paper sold out first. The stock market crashed, thousands laid off work. Hand sanitizer is going for $1 million a squirt. You better not sneeze, cause no one's gonna say God bless you. They might even arrest you. I don't mean to stress you, but washing your hands obsessively in the restroom will not protect you. Friends, I'm not talking about coronavirus. Now this is a virus even more deadly. The F virus. You've seen it. It spreads every minute like an epidemic. It lives on surfaces, most commonly remote controls, TV screens, cellular phones. It makes you desperate. Doctors say every time you scroll down your feed, you get reinfected. It invades the brain, and when it mutates, it turns into hatred and blame. China did it. No, Italy did. No, Iran. No, Spain. Oh, I didn't make it clear? The F virus, ladies and gentlemen, is fear. But don't be afraid. Despite what you hear or see on your TV, there is good news during this tragedy. To fight loneliness, people are performing concerts on their balconies. The UAE sent aid to Iran. Japan donated supplies to China for free. Written on them was a poem that said, "We are waves from the same sea." Listen to me, like every tragedy, we can let this destroy us, or we can use it to our benefit and repair relationships with our sisters and brothers, wipe away silly grudges, because when it's all said and done, all we ever really had in this world was each other. So yes, let's flatten the curve and expand our hearts. Let's social distance, boost our immune systems, be mindful of where we put our hands, but also where we put our attention. Be alert, not fearful, because the F virus is a pandemic easily transmitted. If you do contract it or exhibit symptoms, we recommend immediately dialing the hotline of a level-headed friend. If you are exposed through your TV, change the dang station. Decontaminate yourself through dance, laughter, and meditation. 2020 has been morbid, from Kobe to COVID. May we use these tragic moments to finally wake up to what's important. Right now, tell someone that you care for them. Yes, right now, tell them that you cherish them. If they are not in the same room, ring them up and tell them you will always be there for them. Because together is how we will rise above. The only vaccine for this F virus and every other virus is love.
See you all next week. Apart, yet together. Take care, everyone.